Welcome back to another episode of Pain and Grain Podcast.
Did you forget?
Did I forget what the podcast was?
Yeah.
No. I'm James, and this is
Tina.
Today we're talking about some of the gear we use for our various shooting sports, mainly covering our belts, pouches, vests for the Mall Ninja sports and whatnot.
Yes.
So let's go over it. So when you came into action shooting with your new boyfriend here, and you showed up with a bunch of tactical gear.
Yeah. Tactical.
And you're like, I've got a plate carrier.
I can do all this. Well, we jumped in first with the tactical games.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
And I think you did your first one in your London Bridge carrier.
Yeah, so contracting for so long, I have a whole bunch of stuff that just kind of sits around the house. So I just decided to use plate carrier that I used for exfil. It's London Bridge Tactical. I'm sorry, now it's London Bridge Trading.
Yeah, and this is a question we get. It's like, what's the best shotgun for 3-gun? It's going to be discussed on every podcast by anyone that has a keyboard. And what plate carrier do I use?
Yeah.
Well, I think we did a Google search on this one when you were trying to find like pouches or something for it.
No.
Or you just pulled it up to see if they were even in still in business. But like, what was the price tag on that plate carrier?
Oh, I think it's like 500-ish. Yeah, because this was from
contract.
Yeah,
item.
from my contract that we had given a lot of our clients these, and we use these as well for those who wanted to use it. But for the exfil, when we left Afghanistan, all my stuff, I was just trying to get it in my suitcase to get it home. So this is what I was like, give me one of these, and of course it's a really good brand.
That's pretty slick. I mean, you got places for your patches,
snacks.
You got a cummerbund that adjusts, and these pouches, they're hard woven in there, right? So
yeah, and then,
so you can't take them on and off.
And then you can you can. These are Molly.
Yeah, but they're woven in. They're not a Velcro.
Yeah. So it's not a real quick piece to take on and off. So it stays on there.
And you got padding between where your plate goes.
Yeah, we also took off the padding for the shoulder straps just because that's more stuff to snag on, I guess, for the competitions. But it does, hi Ace.
What's up, buddy?
So, it does have the swimmer's cut, so you can use the swimmer cut plates as well for, hey buddy, you're in the way. Lay down.
And I don't think you had an issue using that as far as like it choking you at an event or anything else?
No, so the thing that's helpful, so a lot of people probably would say, well, I don't like that because there's too much going on, and with the cummerbund, it's more of a high profile type thing, but I've been so used to wearing plate carriers pretty much my whole life that it's literally just a part of my body and it doesn't affect me at all. So
doing a couple lifts or movements, you'll feel the natural pinch points, like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a little rounder than you are, so like going over certain obstacles or like trying to touch my toes, like I pinch in different places, and it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. And
I know some of the obstacles implements that you guys use, the axle bar. Like I think we've all probably done it. Smacked our chin with our plate carrier as the bar passes through our hip area. So that's really the only thing that bugged me. But I do like the plate carrier staying snug. So the more movement you have in your plate carrier, it's just extra.
You feel bouncing around on a run.
Yeah, things will just start swaying, and it's just really annoying. So I prefer the higher profile type ordeal or something that wraps around my body and keeps it snug.
We've talked about this with like pants, right? Where I don't wear loose fitting anything. I like wearing the European Metro. I've told a lot of people I'd wear leggings if they had belt loops in them for dudes, because I want my stuff to be against my body and not making wispy noises as I walk through the grass or whatever and getting wet. So like I get that same feeling with a belt or a plate carrier. I don't want anything like wiggling or loose. Now, if you started today doing and you didn't have a vest, for example, would you go spend $600 on a plate carrier? No, that would be like
no. So like going through it, so I was getting really, really sad when the London Bridge plate carrier was getting all destroyed because everything gets beat up. Not only our bodies get destroyed doing this tactical games ordeal, but like your equipment that you absolutely love, like just gets beat to hell. And so I was getting a little frustrated with that. So then I decided I was like, I'll go a little bit of cheaper route. And then I ended up getting off a high-speed gear. It's made to order, so it took forever to actually get it done. But
and you had a couple of reorders with parts because they sent you like one of your sets of clips was like backwards or
like
something.
It wasn't sewn properly, so I sent it back, and luckily the customer service is great, so it didn't take long at all. Absolutely love this plate carrier.
Look how tiny your plate is.
This is a size small, and again, I
Toddler.
stick with I actually use, I don't use the sand plates. I use actual, what are those, like the steel metal plates, whatever that is.
Oh, that was the other thing. You had your ceramic plates, and I was like, do not use these in the gym. Do not use these at an event. I know they're 6 pounds, but let's drop these.
Yeah, I had, on my way out, I was actually a real slick vest, and I had my own personal plates that would actually stop bullets. So I'd be a little safer with tactical games, but not necessary with everything else. But absolutely love this plate carrier, but again, it just started getting run down where my plate was rubbing, and kind of just gave up on that and just decided to use what I won, because at this point I'm really not wanting to spend too much money when they all do the same and they all just get beat up.
Well, and it wasn't like you were wearing it just at the event. You would wear it in the gym for certain workouts.
Oh yeah, you'd train with it, or I'd train with my equipment on. Not so much my belt all the time, but
range
definitely
days.
Yeah, range days. So train as you fight, right? So so yeah, that's what I use. But my plates, for us smaller gals, this is from Bear Complex, and they're the training plates as well. It meets weight, which is 12 pounds
12
for
pounds
gals.
for ladies.
Yeah, so it meets weight, and again, I like to emphasize the cuts because it makes you more mobile and you can do a whole bunch of stuff. Swimmer's cut.
Swimmer's cut, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely enjoyed these plates. I had no issues, and since I'm smaller for the most part, no issues. You can lift your legs, you can not hit yourself in the chin, etc. So, also because I'm so small framed, like now it's a little different. You can find plate carriers for toddlers almost. I'm really surprised that other brands have actually come up with women-specific plate carriers.
You guys are shaped differently.
Yeah, we're shaped differently. Our torsos are different. So for the smaller people, it's back in the day, it was a lot harder to find something like that would fit. But this is the last option I'm going to show you until I'll let James take over. I haven't used this in TAC Games competition. It's from Armored Republic.
You played with it a bunch.
I played with it to see if I actually liked it. Well, it's great because look how short the torso area is, right? But what I did not enjoy is
just a single
little clip on on each side. That allowed too much movement.
Yeah, it's great when you're standing there, but not when you're...
burpees, it wouldn't hold when I was running. It was just too much movement. And if you don't know any better, that's great. But if you've been wearing body armor, you're not gonna like it. So it was a good purchase. I mean, I still like it, but I won't be competing in it. But yeah.
I like that black multicam look.
Yeah, operator.
I know it's not your favorite Ranger green.
Ranger green, that's my favorite color. If anybody,
all of her other
wants
kit is Ranger green
Ranger.
So, it's funny with like the tactical carrier, like legit carriers, because the vest that I last wore overseas, the ballistic, I don't even remember what it was called, flak jacket.
Yeah.
Right, and then they went to. Like
we were allowed. Storm.
We were.
No offense.
We were allowed to wear plate carriers over our flak jacket And then when we got out of a vehicle, we could take our flak off and leave it in a vehicle, put our plate carrier on for like climbing in the mountains. And then I think the second deployment, like I stopped by and I bought a bunch of stuff from the Blackhawk catalog. Probably had
walking
like,
511 catalog.
Yeah, well, like 511 wasn't even a thing there. It was like $2,500 of the Blackhawk, Lance Corporal pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after that time, where I'm up at Quantico in a non-deploying training unit, right? The gear had changed so much that I felt kind of like a rookie where, we do a training thing and they bring out new kit, and I like look at the other guys that had just come from the fleet, and I was like, dress me. I don't know how to wear this. And they're like, it's just a vest. I'm like, yeah, but there's so many attachments and, all the quick detach, like where you pull your vest off so that like if you're getting a casualty, your vest will disassemble. You know what I'm talking about? And looking at carriers and equipment for stuff, I like to think of my shooting as simply as possible. I want to have the most dummy-proof solution that I can. I don't want something like in the way. I started wearing the Crye Precision jumpable plate carrier.
It's the JPCs.
It was a little expensive. It was like, I don't know, not quite $200, but it was more than I wanted to spend on a vest.
That you just run through the dirt and
I went through two of them.
Breaks my heart.
But they're super light. It was the lightest. I probably just Googled like
jumpable
the lightest
plate carrier.
Yeah, the lightest vest possible, and went through two of them. The plates that I wear, I have ceramic plates, but I've been wearing a coated metal plate, which is actually a ballistic rifle rated plate. If you've ever been to any public gun range, you know that not all shooters are created equal. There's been several competitions that we go to where people either, it's dangerous. You're at a gun range. We deal with this all the time.
Especially indoor gun ranges.
And anyway, I have these set of plates. Now they're shaped a little differently, so they're not shaped like my ceramic plates, so they don't fill the volume. And I just went with, okay, let me go with just the smallest setup I can do. Like, I have to wear the plates for the sport,
right?
So I'm gonna check that box. And other than that, I don't really care. Like, I don't have any sort of retention on my pouches because I'm not as athletically gifted as these other people where they're like doing cartwheels on a stage, and I just like slug over a bar. I'm like, I met the minimum requirement for the fitness, right?
Another thing that you kind of brought up, but a lot of these body armor, like the inserts where your plate goes, there's an actual, another sewn-in material to keep the plate in place.
The inner sleeve or banding.
Right. So that's what I absolutely love. The last plate carrier I got in a prize package that they were using from the T-Rex ordeal. I mean, again, I really liked it, but they didn't have a sleeve for the plates. So again, for smaller people, like my plate's so much smaller than the actual vest, even though it's small medium, that I need to tuck the Velcro all the way up to try and keep that plate tight.
It's meant for an
actual adult.
Well, yeah, but the plates, each vest is designed by a kind of a standard plate size.
Yeah, absolutely. But the cool part about this, it has just that Velcro insert where you could put your magazines in. It's gonna be really loud. Sorry, it's really loud. So that's obviously detachable if need be. But that was pretty cool. It kept it tight to my body. I was never really a fan overseas with it, with that type of. With my magazines, but
it still smells like Nationals.
It's still crusty,
sweaty,
boogers. But
so you're not going to have any pretty gear in the sport, like all of our guns, plates, paint jobs, anything we have starts out nice and then immediately starts looking like trash.
Destroyed, scratched up, you name it.
So I recommend not
going super fancy.
not spending a ton of money on the stuff that you know you're going to trash, or just, like we went with modular kit, right? The idea is like we can change stuff around as needed, and then we never change stuff around. I just put a second belt on. So I end up spending more money anyway.
Yeah, and what is it saying with everything else? Buy once, cry once or something? Well, it really doesn't work that way with the gear. Like, you can buy something super fancy that's expensive and you're going to cry the entire season. If you stick with the sport, like, you're going to see the wear and tear literally after probably 2 events.
Well, it's a disposable item. It's no different than your uniforms at work or whatever else. Like, it's automatically looked at as a disposable item.
Right.
But the belts are one that, the tactical belts for me, I refuse to play in that side of the house, and I finally started doing it. But, your belt, when we started shooting, I think you have 2 or 3 of this set up. So, like, this belt right here.
I have 2 identical belts. Excuse me, sir. You're in the way.
This belt is your duty.
Well, no, this one is the TAC Games one that I used. I always had 2 identical belts. So when I was working overseas, one stayed
And he's gone.
One stayed at work, obviously, and then when I'd come home, I'd still train. So I bought 2 identical belts. But this one specific is for TAC Games because of the lack thereof real estate. Always is an issue for my belt line. I've always ran 2 magazine pouches for my rifle, always, and then had more pistol.
But your other instructor belt had like a tourniquet, an IFAK,
like
a radio pouch.
Yeah, it had all of this stuff, the IFAK in the back, and so I had a lot more stuff going on my duty one. And then my favorite part is the removable holster. And this little drop arm from S&S Precision is the best, because if my kit one day is just bugging me, it's hanging lower than normal, it has a little adjuster that you can drop and whatnot to keep that clearance
on
for
the
you.
fly. Yeah,
on the fly. Sometimes if it's not a big deal if I draw from a little higher than what normal. And then this, oh boy, you're right. And it just slides right on to that. So I swap around a lot between this belt along with the action shooting belt. So, but this was a game changer.
But you've kept certain things where, like, you came in with a rig that was meant to be used and set up one time. You put it on for your training days where you're an instructor on the range, or you're doing flight security, whatever that belt is that you're wearing. Those pouches, even though they can be adjusted, they're not like on the
right
now being able to adjust.
Yeah, and then when so it's going a little off topic. So it depends what you're dressing for. So when I was doing like personal security and all that jazz, it was more of a lower profile, more of a slick plate carrier. I didn't have necessarily all the magazines, all the I'm in a combat zone, but I'm not going to crazy war while I'm driving somewhere. Yes, it's extremely possible. Please don't think too much into that. But so it was just more slick than anything. But now that I'm running this for TAC Games, it's,
You've reconfigured that at least one time where, hey, I like these in these places when I'm doing this activity.
Yes,
right?
yes. I thought I was going to be a fan of the taco pouches, but the tips of this, I always seems to pop out around when I'm placing it in there, so I'll be fishing around halfway through. Double belt, my opinion, is a must. Belt loops is a must.
Oh, inner and outer, yeah.
Yeah, inner and outer. The more shifting when you're doing burpees, when we're getting action shooting, we'll get in that conversation about how much movement's going on to keep that.
Well, you ladies have different things to think about. Like guys, we have our pants to the hip bone, and that's where our belt loops go. So we don't even think belt loops are pretty normal for us. But where you going from the gym setting to the range. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of photos of you in the 5'11" pants looking all secret squirrel in there. But unless you're in those lumberjack pants. Most of the fitness tactical apparel, like I've seen a couple of the ladies out there where they just have their belt around their midline, and it just flops around.
It's going up and down their tummy, and even the women are in a sticky situation, but they're getting better. People are, creating, developing, whatever you want to use that word, more female friendly. I hate the word female. More women friendly items, and pants, leggings, shorts is one of them. And they're even paying attention to the belt loops. So for the longest time overseas, my inner belt was too thick for 90% of the pants that I was wearing overseas. Because obviously
you want a wider.
You need a wider belt because it's not going to fit through. He has a thinner inner belt, which I don't enjoy because I don't feel like it gives as much real estate to the hook portion of that. But so we run into that issue, or the loops are too low, the loops are too high. It's chaos. So it's just finding what you like. Unfortunately, buying stuff to try it out, and then just going with it, and then just asking people what they use. I don't know how many times gals have stopped me at the ranges to ask me what I have going on.
So like on my tactical setup, I have no magazine retention, no bungees. I took all that off because there's nothing that I was doing where I was losing equipment. These are retained pretty good, but these pouches are a little bit deeper than other things. So when we started going to the range and I looked at your belt and I said, hey, this works, but how about we do like an action belt?
Yeah, and I'm a creature of habit, so I was really bad with nothing can change, nothing can move. You are having so many issues over here, young man.
No one cares. So where this is my USPSA rig. I've been shooting this rig. I've got 2 of them set up. I've been using a Safariland belt for the last, 5-6 years that I can remember, probably longer. But this holster, for some of you, you look at that and you're like, what is that thing? That doesn't look like a holster. Well, that's actually a holster for my open guns. It's super fast. And I've run this in 3-gun doing different things, but the retention on this, we have a retention setting for competition holsters where the requirement for us is if I put my handgun in the holster with a weighted magazine, a full weight or a fully loaded magazine in the gun, I turn the belt upside down and I shake it. If the gun falls out, the retention on the holster is not tight enough. Well, here in recent years, we've gone to hooded holsters, which the gun still rattles around and your retention can pop off. We've used those for some things and the retention's gotten better, but this is a USPSA rig. I've got angled mag pouches. I've got magnets on it, so as I go to pick up magazines from a tabletop start, I don't have to worry about sticking them into each of my mags. I can just sweep a mag to my belt and it stays there for later on. Kydex mag pouches, which have passive friction-based tension that hold the mag in place, but when I go to snatch a magazine out, it comes out. It doesn't rattle out. Well, the cool thing about a setup like this, especially we're shooting for 2, right? So, we don't have to go have 19 pistol pouches. We can have 4. And when you're done, we do quite a bit because we're just swapping magazine pouches, or depending on the stage, swap specifically where I want pieces of equipment. Using the same holster setup for a 3-gun event. Now I'm going to have shotgun, either caddies or pouches, clips. I'm going to a real clip, a clip that's attached to a magazine that clips the magazine to the belt. So having different things, like some stages I don't need anything on my belt. I just need, the belt for, and we can even take the belt all the way off. Or if it's just a 2-gun stage, it's shotgun and rifle, and I don't need the pistol, I can take the holster off the belt and leave it in the truck and do different things. So having the modularity there is really good. Well, I ran for 2 or 3 years with the same belt across every sport. And that belt got raggedy, got beat up. The clips, as I bend over to do stuff, pinch my baby fat, because I'm still a baby. I'm a youngin'. And so I said, okay, for this type of environment, maybe I don't want that, so I can go with that slicker tactical belt. But even the buckles, like...
Yeah, I actually enjoy... So when I first started using the Safari Land belt, I actually really enjoy this belt. Like the stiffness, the firmness. Like when I'm running, I think I'm running really fast, but probably not on video.
I feel like I'm zooming.
I'm seeing numbers. Definitely enjoy it staying in place. No matter how tight I cinch down the tactical belt, like it still moves just a little bit. This guy stays in place. The only thing for the smaller gals, again, is you run out of real estate real quick. If we learned that, like with 3-gun, adding those shotgun magazines on, I run out of room very quickly.
Well, you're half my size. So you get when I can have 5 pouches on, you can have 3.
Speaking for the women of the sport.
I know, but I'm not telling you to add the real estate to your belt, but you are restricted.
Oh, that'll happen real quick.
Where you're going to put your stuff. You're running into some issues there.
I like snacks. Yeah, but
you're not putting a Copenhagen pouch on your belt.
No.
There's no. If it's on your belt, it's going to be used.
Well, our first range session or a second together when we first started dating. I had a dump pouch, which I still have a dump pouch on there. You never really know when you just need to quickly.
Oh, you
put
use that for a long
magazines
time
away.
with snacks.
But he showed up to the range, and I was at the range, and we're whatever, he was coaching me and just practicing. He said, "Here, just put this in your dump pouch," and he went to go put it in my dump pouch, and I had like 4 different snacks.
You had gummy bears and.
Yeah, so that didn't work out too well, but yeah.
Well, those dump pouches are always good for that. I do remember the way I would wear. I had 2 dump pouches overseas on a right hip and a left hip, because if you wear a dump pouch directly in the center of your back, one, you can't really reach it, and if you have anything in and you're running, it's just kind of like slapping you right in the gooch, and it's not really pleasant. So, all my magazines and frags and everything were on the chest, and I could sit down with pouches on my hips, and I remember like one, you put like water bottles in, extra water bottles, a camera, and then cigarettes, and
the rippets.
You have the stuff that you want to be accessible, and not, it's in my pack, my 3-day pack or whatever. And outside of that, like, I'm sure there were range sessions where, okay, I change a magazine, I put it in the pouch. When in a real firefight or a gunfight, like, if I'm worried about that magazine that's empty, I'm not like in the moment using it. So TAC games or the action sports, we don't retain magazines.
No.
So your dump, like if you have a dump pouch, I think you have one on one belt. I have one. In the early days of TAC games,
I have them on both belts.
Some stages they tell you to retain stuff. And the only time I do it is if I have 5 magazines of one or the other, and it's just on the clock. They don't go back in a pouch super fast. And maybe I stuff them in the back pocket of my shorts or whatever. But like, even if I put them in the pouch, that whole pouch is just flopping, and I leave them on the run anyway. So it's just easier to hold the stuff for 30 seconds, put them in the pouches. Dump pouches are not necessary for what we're doing, other than snacks.
It'll probably come off eventually, but I know the one time I'm gonna need it. I'm like, I should have put my dump pouch on here. So yeah, that's not gonna work. But I think that's all my plate carriers and belts that I brought down. What else you got going on?
Well, now we're still playing with. You've gotten to the point of, okay, I have something for this sport or this environment. Now I'm going to fine tune and, hey, I like this equipment here, or I want to adjust stuff. So now you're starting to play with that more, and just like your pistol magazines, Oh,
all the magazines.
And you had base pads, but now you want your base pads to match your mag wall. Does your base pad matter? I mean, that's pretty.
Absolutely, it matters.
So
if you look like spanked booty, I'm probably gonna be performing like Spank Booty, but I definitely enjoy the flashy and classy.
Our friend Tiffany thought of you over at Phoenix Trinity
Hey-yo.
and sent her a beautiful purple anodized magwell for her honcho.
Beautiful.
And we looked online for any purple base plates that we could get for pistol, rifle, doesn't matter. Nobody makes anything purple.
Yeah.
And if they did have it advertised, they did limited orders
And we already
occasionally.
had the MBX, so I wasn't really wanting to drop an ungodly amount of money for another set of 6. So I actually reached out to a company up in Fort Worth, did my homework, and sent my base pads over to him, and he hooked it up. Nice price, and pretty much the next day almost.
Yeah, it was a really quick turnaround.
Yeah, it was a very fast turnaround.
But on something like that, the look of your kit or your belt, it really doesn't matter if it matches. It doesn't matter if it's multicam or Ranger green, but both of it, like, I'm going to shoot a little slower, I'm going to run a little slower, so I'm graying in the hair, so everything else has to look good. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how to do tuck your tongue to your top of your mouth so your chin looks better when you're shooting.
Or
when I'm shooting, I'm like sweating and crying.
My mouth is always open.
Yeah,
I'm catching flies.
Catching flies for sure, but the kit's gonna look good.
Yeah, something's got to help me look good. Geez, limited options here. So if the purple does it, the purple does it.
So we went and got that Century plate carrier. I got belts, all new mag pouches, bag, did everything, and it was all matching. And then a week later, Tina, you ordered another plate carrier,
I did.
That other plate carrier,
the high-speed gear.
Like, oh, now we got to get a new set of gear.
Mm-hmm. I can't have different colors looking all like a garage sale. But everybody starts somewhere. Don't think if you're new and you're on a budget. Everybody starts somewhere and everybody gets it. Eventually, you'll decide that you want to start changing things up, and it's a good way to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. When you have different items, someone may give you something. Try this out. There's nothing wrong with mismatched gear. Like, you're there, you're doing it. It's an expensive sport, regardless.
Well, in the world of holsters, having a speed holster like this specific to USPSA.
Right.
And obviously I can use this for 3-gun or some other stuff, but this has a very quick draw, but I'm not able to just, without looking, reholster. Like, I have to be very deliberate with reholstering and locking this pistol. Mm-hmm. And I've done it in 3-gun at different events, but it's not like a Kydex holster where you just drop it in and flip your hood up or whatever. Right. And having equipment like your pistol holster, for example, is kind of a one-size-fits-most for 2011s. Mm-hmm. We had to do some fitting things because our guns are wider frame. But, as you look at certain pieces of equipment, like, why do we wear a belt? Well, we need to hold our pants up, some of us, and then we need to hold the gear that we need for that stage. Pistol magazines, rifle, whatever it is, and a holster. Mm-hmm. Your holster, we get questions all the time about, well, what holster should I use? The holster that holds and fits your pistol. Ace is letting us know that he's over this.
So many distractions.
So with the holsters, for example, if you're shooting something like a Glock 19, you can go on Google or Amazon and Google Glock 19 holster, and there's going to be 10,000 options. When you get into a very high-end or specialty piece of equipment, it might be something that you can't Google search that specific thing. Like, if you Google search a holster for the Honcho's such a unique pistol, one, but two, there's a very limited selection. So unless you're going to a custom Kydex builder or something like that.
Right.
And most of the holsters, they're fit, but you have two types of retention. You've got
passive retention, which is just the friction of the holster itself. And then you have active retention, which is some sort of hood. You know, as you get into the law enforcement holsters, they'll have different locking devices. You know, we use this so if the passive retention fails, the hood keeps the gun from bouncing out. When the hood is down and out of the way, you know, it's loose enough where we can snatch draw the pistol, no big deal. But if you put your pistol in that right now and turn it upside down,
It's gonna fall out.
the gun's just gonna fall out because we're trusting that holster. Now, if we're using just our straight Kydex holster, kind of like what you used for your Glock 19,
The thumb break.
it locks in and you can shake the gun and it's not going to fall out. And so the adjustments and options for gear is, does it meet the minimum requirement? Does my belt hold my stuff? That's the easiest thing to answer. You need multiple pouches. Well, how can I put multiple pouches on? You either strap them to them or you put them on there. Hey, what if I want to change where my pouches are? Okay, well, either you're going to undo each of those webbing things.
Fingers, nails, kiss your cuticles goodbye.
And, I mean, you saw too with like Jay, where we're shooting and running all the same equipment. Now he's changed equipment because he's, you know, got to change equipment. But
Hi, Jay.
We shoot the same shotgun, same rifle, same pistol, like have a lot of the same equipment. And so if we walk up to a stage and either, it's usually I left something in the truck or whatever, because I'm not walking back to the truck. But let's say we get up to a stage and we look and we're like, oh, I need one more pistol pouch on me. This stage is a little bigger or this particular target's a little tougher. Hey, let me borrow one of your mags. And like, I can just reach on my belt, unclip it, put it on his belt right then and there. I think we've done that a lot for pistol pouches with you.
Swapping a lot because at one point I felt I needed all the magazines for a stage and
we run 2 different depths of pistol magazines.
oh yeah, the one that short one I'm not a fan of.
So I run a shorter pouch for USPSA because I use kind of a snatch draw technique for my mags where I basically slap my hand across the belt. And, you know, if I need 5 mags for a USPSA stage, I have done something terribly wrong. But where your pistol, like one, you like to take 7 mags with you on a 12-round stage and do, you know. So I can understand wanting to have spare mags, but you like the deeper pouches. And I don't know how we only ended up, I thought I had more of those, but we only have like 4 of those pouches.
The deep ones?
The deep ones.
No,
So
I've got 3 on my belt now.
okay, well, I didn't know that, but keep swapping pouches. And yeah, so that's, I mean, other than that, like, there's a bunch of miscellaneous things. Slings are one we get questions on all the time.
Oh yeah. I like a minimal sling. I think I have the original, was it Viking Tactics? Really thin, really nothing to it, simple, just adjustable on the fly. I don't like the thick padding that everybody, like, it just seems like more stuff to cut in. And then, again, I'm a creature of habit. I've used those slings overseas. I'm comfortable, I'm confident in them. They've used and, you know, approved. But I just can't get with the padded ones. It just feels like there's too much going on.
Well, between the tactical environment and the competition world, those 2 communities have basically run down and they've beaten a dead horse at this point. So
yeah, it's all kind of the same.
On the tactical side, if you have a flashlight on your rifle and a rangefinder and a broomstick, and if you like strapping stuff to your rifle, I get it. I don't want anything on my rifle.
Well, now, like, for tactical games, it's the slicker the better of your rifle coming in and out of those ports. Like, I was so sad when I got rid of my hand stop that I originally had, that B5 hand stop.
Yeah, and the problem is, if you go on Instagram right now, there's going to be some dude with, you know, muscles and a resume that tells you he's been places in the world, and he's going to say, you know, in this tactical environment, you need to do this. Well, the person that is reading that advice is looking for information for home defense or competitive shooting or something else.
Something specific.
And the reality is, let's say in the tactical games, the furthest I'm going to have to carry my equipment is if I have to carry it on a run, 3 to 5 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not standing on post with that equipment. I'm not standing in a box for 8 hours. I'm not doing long hikes through the mountains anymore.
Right. Everything that you're using is for a different purpose if you choose to, right?
Yep.
Like it's not just using one thing for, patrolling in Hindu Kush mountains.
And then on the competitive side of the house, we're trying to do stuff that either is the fanciest or the most modular. We're going to look at different things. So a few years ago, we all started playing with biathlon slings. So the original biathlon slings, as we saw them, was a hard leather custom fit to the athlete's sling, where when they get done shooting their rifle, they throw it on like a backpack and they go about their skiing business. Well, we saw it in the 3-gun community as a way to attach our rifle, hold it in the center of the back so it's not flopping around and doing stuff, which made sense for some things, but in 3-gun, we're on the clock for 60 seconds, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that. Like, it's rare that I'm not running 6 miles with a sling. So having that biathlon sling, I ran it at a couple of events, and it was nice. It kept the rifle in the center of our back, but instead of just moving one strap off, I had to move two. And I was like, okay, this piece of equipment, as we tried to maximize how effective this equipment was for the sport, we realized that like the fancy piece of gear was not needed. So I just went back to a regular sling.
It's just a little too extra.
Too much, yeah. And then same thing with the tactical equipment. Like I'm not at risk of getting blown up anymore. So I don't need ballistic armor. I don't need shoulder pads or a groin protector, throat guarding, that stuff. So like, yep, my plate carrier just has to hold, in most people's cases, like sand plates.
The sand, yeah.
Or trainer plates or something like that. So whatever stuff that we're doing, whether it's competition gear or tactical gear, it does not always cross over. And I've found that, hey, if I'm going to play, it's nice to have a piece of equipment like my belt that I can make it modular when I'm changing from one sport to the other. But it's rare that it's going to be a one-size-fits-all for all sports.
Right.
Like the belt that I use for USPSA is probably not the best choice for other sports. And like I said, like the fact that I have this modular setup and I use, now I have 3 belts. I have 3 of the same modular setup belts.
Right. They're just configured differently for each sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other pieces of gear are we leaving out here? I mean, there's belts,
Eyes and ears.
bags, Ear Pro.
Yeah.
Ear Pro is the only one that I am a little particular about as far as actual equipment.
Yes.
What hearing protection did you use while you were active duty?
Oof. Well, that whole what is it, the 3M case that they had, or the yellow. I remember they gave us the yellow and the I'm talking about, the flip side ones. And then I remember that we had like the little Surefire ones where you can open, and I can't remember if I had the headset. I honestly can't remember, to be honest. Because I remember at one point I had like the mic with the ear. I just can't remember.
So I tried looking back at like pictures and videos and stuff that I had.
Yeah.
And in my time overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq, I wore no ear protection.
I wasn't going to say that. Like,
Oh no, like it wasn't issued.
yeah, I don't think
We didn't get foamies. I think
I don't even know if we got that.
we started getting our headsets
Right.
that we wore,
Nice.
but I didn't wear the over the ear Peltors or anything. I didn't get a set of Peltors till I was range cadre.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when we were let's bring it all the way back to basic training. Well, for the Army at least, we had the plunger looking ears that we wore them on.
Oh yeah,
and that,
the little green hard case.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think I remember that. Man, that feels like forever ago. But that's all I can really remember.
I don't remember ever wearing ear pro.
Yeah, there's
outside of that, like
yeah.
But
I remember I bought the little Surefire ones with you can hear a little bit at the backside. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the black one with a little clear
red on it on the outside. Yeah.
So when I got into USPSA, I was at my home range at the time in San Antonio. It was Bullet Hole. It was a club on the west side of town, northwest side of town. And, I'd go out with a buddy and we'd take our bags of guns out there, rent a bay, and we'd just like shoot the berm, shoot paint cans, whatever, like something. Mm-hmm. And there was no, it's not like I'm training for something. I wasn't training for competition. I was just like mag dumping into the berm. I was, this is awesome. I heard somebody next to us shooting, and they were shooting, double tap or hammer pair cadences. And it just caught my attention. So we go over, and there was this guy, Ronnie, I think his name was. He was like an old Air Force veteran that worked at the range. And he happened to be the range staff running a single USPSA stage. They'd run it for a week at a time. And every week for 7 weeks, it would change. So you could be in a little club series. So all the members could rotate through at their convenience. You pay $15 or something. You shoot the stage twice, once for fun and once like for score, and then you get like another run at it. And then at the end of the 7 weeks, they had like a little, karate trophy that you got or something. It was, that was my first introduction to USPSA. And then I immediately started going to like, I can go to an actual club match where I shoot 6 stages in a day, 8 stages in a day. Oh, okay. And then San Antonio, Corpus, Austin, Temple, Houston, North Tech, like Louisiana, just a match every weekend or 2 matches every weekend. And the first thing there is I showed up with whatever pistol I had, whatever belt, and immediately there, like I can tell like who the other newbies are with me. Mm-hmm. Like, that guy's wearing jeans and cowboy boots and wearing a Budweiser hat and has a revolver in his pocket kind of thing. And everybody's like, sir, you need a holster that covers the trigger. I'm like, okay. And then I see the guys wearing jerseys and cleats and had a rig of some sort. And I'm immediately over there like a car guy, like, hey, what's that? They're like, don't you know that's a double alpha mag pouch? And I'm like, no, I don't know. So I had to start learning. And the big one was eye and ear protection was required at all of these events. Mm-hmm. Well, I started, it's like the cool guy, wraparound sunglasses. I had a bunch of, like, if you ever look at older photos of yourself.
Yeah, a bunch of Arnett's.
Just whatever glass, and you're like, to this day, I still probably look like a tool now, but like, I can't believe that was ever in like the Oakley M frames with a high and tight, and I'm like, I know. I never tucked my shirt in or anything like that. Okay, I wasn't that nerdy, but anyway, with the ear protection, that was one where I figured out very quickly that the in-ear plugs, I can't hear anything
besides your own breathing.
Yeah, it's like,
and you're yelling at the person next to you. Hey, this is really cool.
And the over the ear, the shotgunner ones that like Princess Leia style, they stick out like this far from your ears. It works if you're shooting pistol, like revolver shooter. And like, I'm not picking on any of these boomers, but like these ear pro were retarded. And then, but they're $60. Mm-hmm. And then you could get the Peltors with the jellies, super comfy, and a boom mic, Roger. But it wasn't needed for what we were doing. And if I shot a rifle or a shotgun, the ear pro didn't work. Yeah. So I liked in-ear plugs.
And I looked at a bunch of different ones, and I was probably eligible for hearing aids then. Mm-hmm. But of course, I'm not going to wear hearing protection. But
What?
well, yeah, one of the years at Rocky Mountain, I think I had, I don't know, top 3 finish or something in the division. So like at the big boy matches, it's either the division winners walk the prize table first. They get nice trophies, nice guns, whatever it is. And then everybody else, as you go down the list, gets lumped into one combined prize table. So I was on the big boy table, and I was pretty nice.
The good stuff.
Yeah. And there's Benelli shotguns, there's JP rifles, there's all sorts of goodies there. And I was actually getting ready to write a check for a set of electronic ears. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time they were like $3,000, $2,900. And I saw a certificate on the table for electronic shooters protection, ESP ears. Mm-hmm. And I immediately pick it up. And everybody else I walk by, I just have this certificate. And everybody's like, oh, what gun is that certificate? It must be fancy because you walk the table first. You know, It's like Daniel Horner and then me. And they're like, you got to have something nice. I was like, yeah, hearing protection. And everybody's like, oh. I'm like, oh, you can get that $1,100 Benelli, or I can get these $3,000 earphones. And so I sent them in. I had to get my ears molded, sent them in with
you have to get a hearing test?
Yeah, sent in my audiogram, which they did. And now this is
like you deaf.
10, 11 years ago now, probably 12 years ago now. And so that set of earplugs has my name on them. So if you're ever on a range and you find it one red and one blue ESP in it, and we'll say James Gill on it.
Or the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
The margaritas hit hard.
Got margaritas at Eagle Lake and lost my ear pro. But the ear pro was really nice. And obviously it shuts off at a certain decibel rating. And in all of my classes instructing, like with the Marine Corps, I'd be just talking to students like this, and everybody's like, what? And I'm like, okay, take your headphones off. I forget that I have electronic ears, and they're all wearing muffs or whatever. But I figured out with good electronic ear pro, one, I can hear and talk normally. Mm-hmm. But 2, I can hear rounds hitting the target.
Or the barrel.
The barrel is big, but paper. So in the 3-gun nation, yeah. So like, yeah, back in the day, no, but still it's a thing. But shooting a limited minor gun, shooting a subsonic, basically ish 147, a heavy projectile, real soft, flat shooting 9mm. There's a very small report at the muzzle. Sounds like you're shooting air, like, pee, pee, pee. But nice little chug on the pistol. But when you're shooting further paper, you call a good sight picture, you send it. Well, it eliminates the need of ever like having to look back, like, did I get it? If you watch any of your own shooting videos and you do this, you shoot, and then as you go to leave, you go like this, and you look over at the target, you're doing something wrong. Okay, so call a good sight picture and leave. Well, the deeper the paper was, especially if we're shooting off through the woods or something, hunting and pecking through the woods, you can hear the round slapping the paper as it punches through the paper.
That's crazy.
And so I use the auditory feedback to know what's going on. And same thing with long range steel. I see my splash on target. I see the round explode. I can hear it so much faster and easier than waiting for the RO to call hit. They're usually going to call hit late anyway. And then that allowed me to transition. So good electronic ears are really nice. Plus you can hear things like when you're getting ready to go up to a stage and you're at a different club, you get to hear all the people behind you talking shit about you. It's the big one because you might not be aware of stuff when you go to an event for the first time because you're so tunnel vision to like, I'm the new person on the squad. I'm worried about what I'm doing. So you get nervous and you're like, don't point the gun at the RO. Okay, like whatever is going on, like don't miss, don't shoot the no shoot, like whatever's going on. And you come off a stage, and in your case, like I saw algebra. What was going on here? And, then 5 minutes later when you regroup, you're like, well, was that good? And like, what, do people think I look stupid? And I'm like, you didn't hear like when you finished, everybody was cheering for you. And you're like, no, I didn't hear any of that. So electronic ears are nice where you get ready and like, your buddies are talking shit behind you. Thanks, Jay or Sam or, somebody.
Sorry, Bill.
So you hear that. And, you'll get the occasional, like, as you're unloading, they're like, you're looking around and you look left, oh, bam, the one target you forgot kind of thing. And not that we condone that kind of behavior, but like having that extra sense when you're shooting is really nice, So I'm pretty particular about electronic ears. And what are you using? The Surefire?
No. Now it's the Peltor 3Ms.
The three, yeah. Mm-hmm. Those ones, I got a set of those a few years ago. And because I had my ESPs, I think I gave them to Eric.
They're pretty pricey too.
Oh yeah, very nice. And like he just like throws them in a truck with his Mountain Dew cans, and I'm like, oh man.
No, they last forever too. I've had those. I had my first pair for like 4 or 5 years, not a problem.
We just had to buy a new dock.
A new charging dock, and then so now I'm still using the same ones, but just using the different dock. But I have the second
yours
pair.
are corded, so you can't lose them. But sometimes you like pull them out. I like having them independent.
Yeah.
But I've played with, not to dog on anybody, but there are some products out there that like, if you order off of wish.com for electronic hearing protection, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
If you spend $80 on a set of electronic earplugs,
it's going to last like 2 months.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or the battery won't last, and yeah.
And you did mention that earlier. So the buy once, cry once.
Cry once, yeah.
When I started action, let's go back to my boot Marine Corps days. I go from Uncle Sam issued me this gear. It's got to be good. To hey, everything I'm using is terrible. It's uncomfortable. It breaks. Or I don't want to get it dirty because then I have to turn it back into SIF and I scrub it or whatever. But like, I didn't know we could buy other gear. I think actually on our first deployment to Afghanistan, we go into Bagram, get a break at Bagram, go in, and they had like the big PX there. And, everybody's buying protein. I didn't buy anything. I bought cartons of cigarettes, and then like, they got drop leg holsters. And they weren't even fit. They were like a canvas, generic, like jankety thing. Yeah. Like, I can carry a pistol to the chow, and whatever. But they had plate carriers that were like the Afghan special, home sewed, and like patches and everything else. And I think we bought
home sewn by the local bomb maker.
Yeah. We got like all the bedazzled, the treasures overseas. You got to send stuff home for family or whatever. But like. It was like the first thing of like, there's other equipment out there outside of what the military is issuing. So definitely the second deployment, I come back and like, okay, now I'm a senior, I'm salty, so like I can adjust my gear a little bit. Bought a bunch of equipment from pretty much the Black Hawk catalog, like dump pouches. I think the big one, I didn't like dump pouches themselves. I used the M60 pouch, so it's meant for like a box of ammo for the M60. It's that size, but it fit like my camera.
Yeah, like the 249 one had the little.
The little donkey nut pouch or whatever they call it. And getting that equipment at the time when I was a Lance Corporal and I made $1,200 a month with hazard duty, like, I was making big money. Like, it's not good money at all. But I was willing to spend money on certain things because, like, ballistic M frames were $250 at the time.
I'm really surprised you didn't get a lot of that stuff issued to you.
No, the
Marine Corps doesn't give.
No, they don't give us anything.
We get our hand-me-downs, but.
So we were issued, which I will never wear, ESS ballistic glasses, but they were supposed to be modular where you could change the lenses and everything else. And like you would set them on the table and they would fall apart. They were just like, one, they're worn out, they're secondhand gear. They're supposed to be a disposable item, but they make them turn. They make us turn them in.
Oh yeah, we had to
it's
keep
terrible.
ours. You guys had it rough. I actually enjoyed that.
So I bought a set of the ballistic M frames. We were not approved to wear them.
Right.
And then I get blown up. Now I don't think that my glasses, the Oakley, I don't think they would have survived the blast I was in.
Right. It's
But
rated to a
it was like the
certain
principle of like, hey, I had an option of buying nice stuff and I couldn't, right? So then after that, I learned very quickly of if I'm going to work, let's say cutting grass, and they issue me a lawnmower, okay, I'm going to use it like it's a tool for the job. But if I'm going to cut grass at my house, I'm going to have the nicest lawnmower. I'm going to wash it off, you know.
Okay.
And with all of my kit over the years, I say kit like I'm tactical, I'm not, but my belts and magazine, any piece of equipment I'm using for competitive shooting, I want the nicest equipment possible for several reasons. I don't want to replace it as often. You're still going to have maintenance on it. And that's where I was going with the tactical versus competition side. On the tactical side of the house, there are some people that spend time and money on that. But usually if they're like general population, law enforcement, or military, they're using what's issued, and they don't have any say in it otherwise.
Right. There's a
Just
lot
like
of
I
people-
didn't. Right?
Yeah. Well, you can't use it unless it's approved.
Yep.
Law enforcement's like that too.
So the point is to have nice equipment, especially used for each of these sports that lasts. It's good quality. We're buying the right stuff. You've bought some nice gear. You went from a Glock, which you still have, now shooting a really high-end competition pistol. But that competition pistol needs maintenance.
Very high maintenance.
It's kind of how we do things. But we'll cover our specific optics and rifle and pistol and other videos. So there's a difference between a disposable item. Shoes, your running shoes are supposed to last 6 months. A real runner would be like, I'm buying a new pair of shoes every month.
Every month. Yep.
My running shoes last several years because I'm not running. Yeah, and if you don't know what you're buying, just ask somebody, and don't ask the guy at the gun shop. He's just going to sell you whatever. You got anything else you want to go with this one?
No, that's about it.
If you guys have any questions about the particular kit, belts, plate carriers, vest, or whatever that we're using for the various sports, pouches or anything, drop a comment, let us know.
Anything else you want to see or hear about, just let us know and we'll try to cover it for the next one.
Thanks, guys. See you in the next one.
Bye. Ouch, ow.